Welcome back, everyone. In today's video I show you something that I wanted to make since a while now, but I just never had the time. But before we get into it, first I have to apologize because this is not my idea. What I make here is the idea of what I make here is from a guy. His name is, I think, Raphael. He has a YouTube channel as well. If I find out how to do that, I put a link to his channel in the description here. And I'm a huge fan of the stuff he's making, and he's working a lot with plywood. And he once made something that really impressed me. The style of what he did, not necessarily of how he did this, but it just I just like the style of furniture that he's making. And I just wanted to try it out by myself. So what I make here, I do not want to sell it to someone. I do not want to claim that it is my idea. I just wanted to I kind of make this out of curiosity, to be honest. So as you saw in the beginning, I didn't, as always, and I mentioned this before in other videos, I didn't have a plan for this. I just looked what the guy Raphael was doing, and then I grabbed some leftovers of plywood sheets that I had kicking around. Then I got my pencil and draw the rough shape on the plywood itself, and then I used the jigsaw, as I'm gonna show you in just a few seconds, to cut out the shape. And I do not really work very often with jigsaws because I don't know, I think usually there are better solutions than jigsaws. Jigsaws are more, as I learned, for job sites also. But yeah, the guy in that video, Raphael, he used a jigsaw too, and I thought, okay, well, let's try it out. So at the beginning I made a mistake. I think I used a blade on the jigsaw that is a little too big, for those radiuses, for this very small radius. So for the other half of this piece, I used a smaller blade, and this worked a lot easier. But it was still good enough, I think. You just have to make sure that you're very careful. And I know this. I think most modern jigsaws, they have the function that it's uh, what is the English name for this? It's called I can only say it in German. It's called Pendelhub. That makes the blade of the jigsaw not just go up and down. It goes back and forth a little bit as well. So that makes the jigsaw easier, or the blade go easier and quicker through the wood. But it also makes it a little bit more difficult to go around radiuses. So you want to be sure that when you cut a small radius, that you turn this function off on your jigsaw. So in my experience, that makes things a lot easier. So yeah, it's not very difficult. I think you can do this with almost any jigsaw, but you really wanna go slow, in my opinion. But it worked great. Overall, it worked great. Not too bad. Here I cut out the inner part, and I have to say, I think maybe whenever I have time, I gonna do this again. It was a lot of fun to do that. And if you have, I would say, some experiences with bandsaws, you would not have any difficulties to work with a jigsaw too, I think. Here we are almost done. Okay, but it's still, or it's not looking perfect. after using the jigsaw. So I walked over to my little belt sander here, and I sanded the shape, like the outer part and also the inner part, to make everything smooth. But of course, later you have to sand it by hand or with an orbital sander or whatever you have to get a really good finished surface. But you can use this little stationary sander, or what I used here is to shape it out even better. Okay, here then I use this first part for the as a template for the second part. And as I mentioned, I do not show you how I cut the second part, but as I mentioned, I used a different jigsaw blade, a smaller jigsaw blade, and that made it a lot easier. Now I'm cutting those middle shelves and the tabletop on my table saw. And I think you saw earlier in this video I changed the blade, because usually I have this ripping blade on my table saw, because mostly I do rip cuts on my table saws, and I changed it to the universal blade that I had. And yeah, I think you could. I'm not a big fan of those universal blades. I think my opinion is that you always have to use the perfect or the right blade for the right purpose. So for finish cuts, I use a finishing blade, and for rip cuts, I use a ripping blade. So crosscut, a crosscut blade. But I think for this sheet good, like particle board, or in this case it's plywood, universal blades are doing pretty good. So if you only have a universal blade, I'm not saying you should go and buy a different blade then. Just use for sheet good, use a universal blade. And here I use this little hand router to make the edges, like on the inside and the outside, round. And you can see here that I always go, so we always want to work like against the rotation on the router bit for safety reasons, but you usually get better results or smoother results when you go like with the rotation of the router bit. And you can see here I usually go some back and forth with it to get a better surface. But for safety reasons, you usually always go against the rotation of the bit. Of course, you want to do some finish sanding by hand. Here I use some, I think it's 220 grit, just for the edges. Okay, and here we are already at the assembly part. So the whole process of cutting the sheet code, cutting out the shapes, was not too long. I think the whole project you could almost do on I think on one day. Depends how much time you have. Here this is the first part of the tabletop. You will see just in a few seconds what that means. And the first part I screw on those legs. And you really want to be sure that those screws are deep enough in the board, because you will see in just a second why. You want to have a 100% flat surface. So I not only pre-drill, but I also countersink the holes to make the screw heads disappear 100%. I think I screwed them even deeper than just flat with the surface. And here's pretty much why. Because I put another layer of plywood on top, so to make the tabletop even thicker. And you want to, if you do this, here I use just wood glue to do this. It's no problem to do that. And if you do this, you really want to make sure that you have enough glue, especially at the edges of that sheet, because when you put another one on top, and also you want to make sure that you have enough clamps to make sure you don't have any open gaps at the edges, so that you can keep the moisture away, and you do not end up later, maybe in a few months or even a few years, with separated sheets. So that's why I use, yeah, you could say, more clamps than necessary, but I really wanted to make sure that everything is every side is tight. So I used, yeah, a lot of clamps. So here for the two middle shelves that will be installed in that side table, I just use pocket holes. And because it won't be really visible, only if you flip it over the table, so you would not see those pocket holes. And I think it's good enough for that purpose. I think Raphael, in his video, he used screws or dowels. I'm not 100% sure anymore, but I use pocket holes for that. Nothing wrong with it. First, I made some marks on those legs to know where to put those shelves, and then I just screwed on with some pocket holes. Here I use only for both shelves, I use just four screws each for the shelf in the middle, which I'm working here right now. Yeah, you can pretty much only use four screws for this because of the legs. But and for the bottom one, I also use just four screws. But I think now that I should have used yeah, like I said, only one for the bottom. I should have used maybe two more screws. Maybe next time, if I ever make this again, I would probably use more screws. Okay, almost done with it. Didn't take very long. And of course, here comes the fun part, sanding. Here so the tabletop, I cut a little, I think 0.5 millimeter or so bigger than the overall dimension, because I wanted, when I sand it later, I want to make sure that I do not over sand it, so that the dimension of the tabletop will not end up smaller than the width of the legs, and also to make sure that when I'm gonna sand it, that I do not sand through the veneer of those legs. Here I use, for the finish, I think it is ebony oil-based ebony stain from Minwax. And here's another mistake that I made. I did not use pre-stain. So next time, definitely I want to use pre-stain. If I go to do this again, it just makes everything, the overall appearance of the table, a lot better and a lot more even. Of course, you want to wipe off after I think 20 minutes or so. And here it is, I think it is 2 days later that I apply some wax after the stain is fully dried. I apply some wax just to make everything a little shiny. And also, yeah, if you ever noticed, when you touch piece of furniture or piece of wood, with that had some wax on it, it feels a lot better. So this is why I pretty much on everything I build, I apply some finish wax too. And here comes the I could say the special feature of this furniture. I bought some cheap loops, some hook loops. I don't even know how they're gonna call it. And my wife will show you in just a few seconds what is it for. I usually leave this type of work to my wife because she can do those kind of things a lot better than I can, and she has a lot more patience than I have for this kind of stuff. Okay, I think we are almost there. Okay, here we are. What do you think? If I would do this again, I think I would do things a little bit different. But if you like that video, please give me a thumbs up, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out Raphael's channel. Thanks for watching.